All right, Kevin, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Good to be here.
So for those that have not had the pleasure of meeting you, can you introduce yourself real quick?
My name's Kevin Keohane. I'm a managing partner for a business called Brandpie, which is based in New York and London, and I work in brand strategy.
That's amazing. So I know you and have had the pleasure of getting to know you over the last couple of years, and we're very blessed that you've agreed to be a part of LaunchPad and work with us, and we're truly happy about that. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up and went to university here in the U.S., but when I was about 25 years old, I had the opportunity to go and help integrate a business in Australia into our parent company that I was working for in the U.S. So that kind of launched an 18-year voyage of discovery, I guess, around the world, where I lived in Australia for a couple of years, lived in Stockholm, Sweden for a year, then ended up living in London for about 15 years. So, 18 or 19 years away from the U.S., 15 years in London where I never thought I was going to live, but I ended up really getting pretty deeply involved in the whole organizational change, culture transformation, and brand world. Mm-hmm. Ended up working for companies like WPP and Publicis, which were very big holding groups in the media industry. And just was fortunate to do some exciting global work with companies like Ernst & Young, which I led the rebrand for them to become EY. I've done a lot of work with Deloitte, Capgemini, Coca-Cola, a bunch of different companies. So I've just been really lucky to be able to have that experience. And then, decided to move back to the U.S. about 9 years ago, and about 8 years in Missoula, Montana, and then decided to continue the journey westward. Came here to Spokane.
Yeah, that's amazing. And married, and your lovely bride came with you.
That is correct.
I've had the pleasure of meeting, Nikki.
Yeah, she's a Brit as well, so she's fitting in well.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
really.
Well, you're both a wonderful addition to our community, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you and work with you. And I really wanted people who are in the LaunchPad community to get to know you for a couple of reasons. And one of them, which we talked about, you've reached out to me multiple times, in my crazy kind of ADHD world of bouncing around from project to project, and said, hey, I really want to work with you guys. I love what you're doing. I want to work with you. I think there's some things I can help you do, and focus being one of them. But talk to me a little bit about, and so others understand, what's your motivation for wanting to be around LaunchPad and work with us, but what drives you? Like what's that driving, motivation? Yeah,
so I think Spokane is a bit of an undiscovered hidden gem in a lot of ways. And I, for various reasons, started spending more time here before I moved here, and just thought, this is a town that I've driven through 20 times, never really thought about. You look at it actually as you're driving past, and it's like, totally uninteresting, right? As I started to get to know it, I thought, this is a really wonderful place. The people are really down to earth. It's got all kinds of great museums and restaurants and breweries, and just had this really good feeling about it, and I actually ended up moving here. And I think that really applies to the economy and the business community as well, that there are so many really good, successful people and companies here that really might not be on the radar for whatever reason. I don't know if we're dwarfed by Seattle or just, inland Northwest is kind of an afterthought, but I just felt as if there's such potential here, both at the individual company level, but at the community and economic level, to grow and thrive and just really put the place on the map in a way that it's not. And so, I got involved a little bit with, I went to the, I think it was called Spark, the kind of startup competition.
Spark Weekend, yeah.
Spark Weekend, and met Steve Neff, who runs your Springboard program. I actually ended up, it was hilarious. I've never done one of those before. I was absolutely terrified. And then when I was in the room, I realized, wow, I have got a lot to bring to this team, right? We had like 10 or 12 people, some university students, the founder of the company. And I just realized I can actually bring a lot of brand and go-to-market thinking to this company.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up winning the competition,
Right.
which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And that kind of opened my eyes that startups are really bad at thinking about their brand
Yeah.
and really bad at thinking about their marketing.
Mm-hmm.
They're great at product and getting out and finding funding and, doing pitch presentations, but they underinvest time and effort in their brand and their marketing. And so I kind of put two and two together and started thinking, well, how can I get involved? And I know you and I have talked about my little side project, my AI.
You can plug it.
My AI startup called Go-to-Market Maven, which does really good foundational go-to-market plans for businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I got involved with Springboard.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like there's a lot I can bring to help raise the game of local businesses, large and small,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to building their brand and really thinking about a disciplined, consistent go-to-market approach.
Yeah. And let's lean into that area just a little bit. So when startups get going, it's typically the founder's usually a technical person that's got a product and they're familiar with that domain area, and they have a product that can solve a problem, and they're excited about it, and they're 100% full steam ahead. Got to build this product. And we've noticed through the LaunchPad program, and for those that don't know, it's a 90-day program, typically 90 days, not always, where you have to go through some very basic, fundamental, lean canvas type work to make sure you understand your market, who your customer is, what problem you're solving, what your addressable market is, all these fundamental things that you must know that most really don't. And what we found, to your point, is most don't understand brand or marketing, and that's almost a complete afterthought. So you have an entrepreneur, you're working with someone that's a technical person just going 1,000 miles an hour. How do you get them to stop and think about brand and think about marketing?
It's hard because they only have so much money, and obviously they don't want to quote unquote waste it on marketing and branding because they all think the product's going to sell itself, right? It's so wonderful that I just put it in front of somebody and they're going to fall in love with it, which very seldom happens. You've got to be able to create awareness about the product first of all, and then you've got to translate that awareness into actual purchase or use of the product.
Right.
And what I try to do when I talk to founders is just say to them, can you answer really, really quickly these following questions? One, tell me about your product or service. What's great about it? What makes it different? Two, tell me about the market you're selling into. What's the market like? Three, who are your competitors? How are they selling? What makes you different? What makes you distinctive, better? It's because you're higher quality, you're faster, you're cheaper. Maybe you think you don't have competition. Really importantly, four, who are your buyers? Who are the people you're out there actually selling, and who are they going to be influenced by? Where are they finding their information? So even with those four simple questions, I can very quickly get them to realize that they can go from this really wide, expansive view of I'm trying to sell to everybody, which they all make the same mistake, to there's actually one, two, maybe three people I need to focus on. So I often try to get them to focus on just one buyer, and they hate that because they want to sell to everybody. Oh, but there's a use case here, and there's a use case here, and there's a use case here. And I'm like, all right, if you have unlimited marketing budget, go for all of them.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, I guess the thing is for me, it is get them to prioritize and get them to focus on those four questions because most of them can't answer them with nearly the level of granularity that they need to.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant. And I felt myself going through that with you, that you were working on with me. And so I can attest that's absolutely the process you took me through and we continue to go through, which I appreciate.
Well, there's a real life example that I think it's okay to share. I don't have to say the name of the company, but we've got a startup that LaunchPad has been working with. And the product that they've developed is really, really useful for a kind of a consumer audience where it's a kind of medical qualification that they can use to increase their employability and, make them, more attractive as a professional to hire. But then there's also healthcare systems that can utilize this product to expand their market or enhance their service offer. very cool that it can do both of those things. And I had to say to the CEO, pick one, because unless you have a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of bandwidth, it's going to be really hard to try to create two brands at the same time. So pick the one that you think you're going to be successful with, and we can deal with the other one later.
And that's different than what a lot of entrepreneurs have to do is pivot, right? You start down a path in a market and a strategy, but midway you figure out, oh, there's a better market and a better fit.
Right.
Pivoting is different. Yeah. So anything else, any other, words of wisdom or advice for startups, entrepreneurs, people that have an idea for a business, anything else that you could share with them?
I guess going back to the whole idea of how do you build a brand and a go-to-market strategy is that I don't care if you're a coffee shop, starting a little corner coffee shop kiosk, or if you've got a, $10 million rapid growth business and you're trying to expand, outside of the Pacific Northwest or Inland Northwest. I don't really care. You still have to have the same answer to the same questions. And even some of the small and medium enterprises and businesses I look at could be doing so much better in the region. So again, it goes back to your first question: why am I here? It's like, I'm not intending to try to sell a bunch of services to people in that area, because it's just it's difficult, and pardon me. The business I work in, we're probably priced out of this market anyway.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that, if we can get in front of some of these companies that, you and I have been talking to and thinking about, with very little intervention, we can actually raise their game.
Yeah. I have a heart for entrepreneurs. I have a heart for underdogs.
Yeah.
I think our community, our region is a bit of an underdog in some ways.
Totally.
And I really dig that. I had a chance to travel, live overseas, and just kind of got drawn back here. And there's a lot of really talented people here, and we're bringing a lot of talented people to the region, like yourself and others I've met. And so one other area that before we finish this, I want to make sure. Let's say I'm a marketing professional, or I'm a C-level executive. I'm a CMO, or I'm director of marketing at a larger company, not a startup anymore, but and things are so different now with AI, with the changing brands, and I'll talk about a couple things here. There's a lot of pressure, the DEI conversation. What can you put out as far as advertising and as far as marketing, the do's and the don'ts? There's a lot of pressure on marketing people. That brand image, as you know, that some of those global and national brands that are really putting themselves out there. And sometimes that's tough. So what kind of advice do you have for people here regionally that are in those positions, and how should they be kind of thinking about the market and branding right now?
I think a couple things. One is, don't change who you are. Don't kind of hide your purpose or do things that are not natural or in your wheelhouse, both morally and ethically and from a business point of view, regardless of the prevailing political and economic climate.
Right.
Because you can kind of tell, it's okay to draw back and maybe not shine the light as brightly on some things, but I don't think it's appropriate to kind of, pretend you're something you're not.
Right.
I think stick to your convictions is really, really important.
Yeah.
And in so doing, oftentimes that will actually cut through the noise more, because everybody's going to be playing it safe. Right? The people who don't play it safe are going to get outside return on the marketing investment because they're going to get more notice. I also think don't be afraid, and I'm third time I've said it, is to really draw back to the fundamentals. I love when people talk about having a digital marketing strategy. It's like, why is the word digital in there? It's part of what you need to be doing. Of course you should be using AI in certain ways, and of course you should be out, buying ads and, promoting yourselves from digital channels, but you need a marketing strategy.
Right.
So many people are really good at the kind of digital side of that, getting ads into platforms and, segmentation and all that. But they're just churning out more of the same stuff. So to me, it's really important for them to be, the phrase we use is ruthlessly consistent. Like, and I've told you this with what we're doing with LaunchPad. I'm like, you have 5 messages. That's it. if you're not talking about those 5 things, you shouldn't be talking about them.
Right.
And that sounds dogmatic, but if you try to be all things to all people,
Right.
you end up being nothing to anyone.
And if you shift your values because it's popular, and there's pressure to do that, I get that. There's a lot of pressure sometimes. But if you shift your values too much, then it becomes unauthentic.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And it's too hard to live up to that
Exactly.
consistently. So I like that advice a lot.
Even look at what happened with Disney. I think it's easy for businesses to get so scared of what is actually a minority that they make decisions that piss off the majority.
Yeah.
They had to reverse themselves very quickly on that.
Yeah.
You don't have the Kimmel thing. So.
Yeah. It's tough. You're in an interesting business, and it's probably almost on the front lines in many ways for some of these large national name brand, these brands that are just everyday companies that we all know extremely well. And we sort of have a vision of what we think they stand for. So when we see something change, it's a little interesting.
Yeah. And we always say, and our clients really do benefit from this, that it's become a bit of a cliche, but brand is not just your logo and your visual identity. Like that represents it, it identifies it, hopefully it communicates something. But your brand is actually everything you say and everything you do. Every process, every person you hire, every person you let go, every customer every interaction you have, that your brand touches all of those things, and it's usually the largest intangible asset on your balance sheet. That's the other thing. And your brand can be worth anywhere from 20 to 50% of your enterprise value. It's a huge asset.
Yeah.
So people don't tend to treat it like that.
Yeah, I think one of the best lessons I ever learned was when I moved to Silicon Valley and worked for some large enterprise tech companies. It was made very clear, I think Cisco was probably the one that really drove it home for me, was every person on the payroll is a salesperson. I don't care what job you're in. You're in accounting, you're a salesperson. You represent the company.
Yeah.
And you have to always remember that.
It's funny you mentioned that because, one of the things that I've always been really passionate about is I actually started my career in HR and kind of organizational transformation. And the brand inside the company is as important, if not more important than outside, to your point.
Yeah.
That if you have a brand promise and a customer experience you're trying to deliver, you need to make sure every employee, every process, every piece of technology, every system, every workflow is laser focused on delivering that customer experience. So often the internal branding side of things, the values and behaviors and, how you empower people and equip them and enable them to deliver the brand promise is really, really critical.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, well said. It's culture. Google, the culture at Google was just incredible. I was so blown away, even though I was remote, and I did get to meet with, quite a few folks at the offices and spend quite a bit of time in London as well. But yeah, you're so right. Culture trickles down so far into the ranks, all the way down into almost every department, and you can feel it, especially when you interact with people.
Well, one of my favorite examples of that was I worked many years ago with a very prestigious Magic Circle law firm in London, helping them rebrand, one of the top international law firms. And following our, sort of research phase, we kind of asked all the managing partners in a very important, meeting in a big oak meeting room, and everybody had suits and ties on. Sorry about that. And I said to them, who are the 2 most important people that your clients interface with? And they listed off 15, all these great ideas. And I said, it's the person at the front desk that they meet when they come to see their attorney, and it's usually the managing partner of the project.
Right.
The lowest paid person and the highest paid person are the most important brand ambassadors for the business.
Yeah. That's who they engage with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah, that's such good advice right there. And I so believe that, and talk to young people who are going into sales or just any kind of job, that your engagement with the customer is everything. And you are the face of the customer or the face of your company.
Yeah.
And your interaction is so critical. So, yeah, I think that's great. So thank you. Thanks again for doing this. Thank you for just being involved in the local community, the ecosystem, for your drive, because you're helping me in many ways to just really look at what we're doing to help entrepreneurs, to help companies that want to, also provide services and that are our partners and sponsors. All those interactions are very critical. But yeah, thank you for being here. And I look forward to your involvement going forward and building the ecosystem and maybe doing this again, providing more information to entrepreneurs and to business people here locally.
Yeah, it's really fun and onward and upward.
Yeah. Amen. Thanks again.
You're welcome.